Elio was supposed to be an afterthought for this summer. That is until we found out it's one of the most expensive flops for the Walt Disney Company ever. Now, the Hollywood trades are trying to figure out what went wrong. They're stabbing in the dark. Today, we'll tell you what really went wrong and how much it cost the House of Mouse.
It's not about money, it's about sending a message.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Pro Channel, where we as ever endeavor to explain entertainment. Keeping you ahead of the culture curve is what we do, and deep diving into what is going on right and wrong in cinemas and theaters and studios and all of that, well, that's what we do. So sit back, click the like button, and here we go. Out of Variety by J. Kim Murphy, box office. 28 years later, chomps on $14 million opening day. Elio facing Pixar's lowest debut ever as How to Train Your Dragon rules again. That's right, folks. First place goes to 28 years later. No, second place, because How to Train Your Dragon is in the top spot. Elio, however, is not in number one. It's not in number two. And Elio earned only $9 million on its Friday and preview screening combined, making it lower now than Elemental in 2023. I'm going to get into just how bad this is for Pixar, and I'm talking about this is bad, but before we talk about bad, let's talk about how sad Pixar must be, because $300 million, and we've got the evidence here. I'm going to prove this to you, okay? I'm going to prove it to you, because there's some people out there want to say Elio didn't cost this much, that it cost $150, and I'm going to prove to you, because if it cost $150, this would be bad for Disney, this would be sad for Pixar, but you know what? It would just be a flop. The fact that this sucker cost this much money, what if I told you that they essentially made two movies in order to make Elio? And I've got the proof. I'm going to show it to you. You're going to have the proof. Hang tight. That Park Place back from May 13th, Marvin Montanaro, the author, Elio budget reportedly skyrockets toward $300 million as Pixar scrambles to finish troubled production. Okay? Says Pixar's next big release, Elio, is shaping up to be one of the most expensive animated films ever made. Now consider that one of the most expensive animated movies ever made is also on track to be one of the lowest ever grossing, at least from Pixar, the lowest from Pixar. With sources now estimating its production cost at nearly $300 million, and that's before marketing. A typical average cost for a Pixar film is usually $150 to $200. And thus why some are trying to claim that it is $200. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, I have the proof that they made two movies and only got one. You can bet it cost the price of making two movies. So let's go to the receipts. From me on X, the Elio from 2023, that is the trailer that was released, is a completely different film. Different story, different scenes, different dialogue, different characters. They made two movies. And I am quoting here Matt Neglia at Next Best Picture. Here's the proof, folks. He says it's wild to look back at the first teaser for Elio from 2023 and see how much it changed compared to what's playing in theaters now. This was a movie that was supposed to release, by the way, in 2024. And if you take a look at this, this is from a scene that it exists in the movie as it currently is, well, as they released it. But guess what? The scene's completely different. It takes place in the same area, but everything about it's completely changed. Elio is down there. He makes a phone call in the original teaser trailer. He makes a phone call in to his mom. And you can see in the photo that that this is his mom, because the mom and the dad are in the picture and they both are in the Air Force. In the movie, Elio is, this is his aunt. And there is no dad or mom because they passed away. And there is no uncle. It's just an aunt. Disney made the decision to move away from her being a mom to him to having this be a Lilo and Stitch movie where both of his parents have passed away and he is with a single aunt who is surrounded by women. Now you figure out, you think about that. How much better would this movie have done if Elio had been about a mother and son and maybe a dad? The other thing about this too is that Elio in the trailer, and we can't play this for reasons of copyright, but Elio in the film And by the way he goes to space is completely different in the teaser. All of these scenes were created. You got to say how much of the movie was actually created and then discarded. But in the trailer, in the teaser, Elio is rather normal. In fact, you can see here as he's being pulled in by the aliens, he says, no. He doesn't want to go to space. Why? Because he's a normal kid. And in the movie that was released, Elio is not a normal kid. He's instead a kid dealing with kid dealing with trauma, with the loss of his parents. He's a kid dealing with anxiety. He's a kid dealing with attachment disorder. He's a kid dealing with post-traumatic issues. That's the kid we got versus the kid that was in the teaser who was rather normal. Now, I'm not telling you that's a good decision, bad decision. I'm not making any kind of judgments, definitely about anybody listening to the video right now. I'm just telling you that Disney spent a lot of money basically making a second movie. And in fact, we know even more just how much of a second movie this is because take a look at this. The villain wasn't a villain in the original movie. Ambassador Grigon would be turned into a completely different character with a son who is absent in this. We're talking about some of the character models are the same. The voice actors are the same. Some of the scenes are the same. But all of the animation, all of the dialogue, these are completely different movies, even to the point of the main character being transformed completely in what he is and who he is and what the purpose of the movie is. So, all that to say, if you're wondering why, when I read Variety and I see that it's Pixar's lowest debut ever, if you wonder why suddenly this is on my radar as, oh my gosh, this is one of the most expensive Disney flops of all time, it's because they made 2 movies. And then they decided that rather than releasing the first movie, they were going to make the second movie out of this thing and then release that, and that would fix it. And instead, it became the lowest grossing domestic open, worldwide open for a Pixar movie ever. Now, the Hollywoods, the trades are trying to figure this out. And we're here to be the torchlight for them. We will be their flashlight in the dark. Anthony D'Alessandro is about to be stabbing in the dark about this. He's over on Deadline. Says, Elio at 22 million is Pixar's lowest opening ever. And he's going to give some reasons for why that might be, okay? So let's go down. We're going to scroll on down until we get to where he talks about Elio, okay? And you're going to get a potpourri, folks, a potpourri of reasons that they're trying to come up with, but you can tell they're grasping. And I'm going to tell you definitively what it is that caused Elio to be one of the most expensive flops in the history, not only of Disney, but of cinema entirely. And by the way, we weren't even talking about this. I mean, going up into this movie, we knew it was going to be bad, but not this bad. And guess what else? We didn't think it was going to be one of the most expensive flops of all time because we didn't know they made 2 freaking movies. It says, we can't deny that Disney Pixar's Elio at 22 million plus is the lowest opening for a Pixar movie and third, lower than the first Pixar feature, 1995's Toy Story at 29.1 million. And folks, it is laughable that they would put this in here. Anthony, come on, man. Adjusted for inflation, Toy Story is a wonderful movie that had a 7X. A 7X. Now, if you're not into movies and the financials of Hollywood, you might not know what that means. Valiant Renegade and I will sometimes talk about movies that do a 2X or a 3X, and we're like, oh man, if it can do 3X, that'd be awesome. Toy Story was a 7X. Needless to say, that's like Top Gun Maverick levels of good. And adjusted for inflation, it's nowhere even close to the low. It says this, despite excellent audience exits, talks about Elemental as well, with an A overall cinema score and an A plus for the under 25 bunch. True, the new paradigm of success for a Disney animated property lies in its in-game viewership on Disney Plus. Stop. Folks, listen. The idea that we are now judging Disney animated movies on how they do on Disney Plus, that is the worst and lamest and most pathetic way to try to gauge the success of anything. There is no reason you should take that and view it as meaningful. And the reason is because they're practically giving Disney Plus away at this point. You can get it on any given month. You can find a deal for $1.99. And then there's no cost. There's no there's no risk to just turning the flick on for 15 or 20 minutes, and it gets counted as a view. So this idea that, viewership on Disney Plus saves the day, it doesn't make them money, right? Snow White, for example, is going to be on the Nielsen charts somewhere. Not the animated flick, but the Rachel Zegler. And when it appears, that nobody is going to think, well, look at this. This is a big win. How many subscribers did Disney Plus pick up from people who just had to see Snow White? They refused to see it in theaters, but boy, oh boy, they couldn't wait to see it on streaming, and they picked up Disney Plus for that. No, people had Disney Plus for a ridiculously low cost, and kids saw it because Disney plastered it at the top of Disney Plus. They clicked it and let it play for 20 minutes. There you go. But that doesn't make Disney money. There's no ads running on this because kids are the ones watching it. Kids don't get the ads. So there's no ad revenue. Nobody is subscribing to Disney Plus to watch Snow White or Elio when it comes out. And guess what? It's not retaining anybody. Okay? So this is laughably bad. Elio, whatever it does on Disney Plus, will have no impact on whether you should consider it to be a success or a failure. The only exception to that is Encanto, and that is because when Encanto hits Disney Plus, suddenly its soundtrack exploded in sales. That's different. It doesn't make up for it being a flop in theaters, but it also had to face the pandemic. So I don't want to get into that, but just to say, this is lunacy if you believe that statement. It says, while we know Pixar can make an emotional movie, evident in the exits here, something is holding audiences back from running to the theater. So let's see what Anthony says it might be. Anthony over at Deadline says, for a while, the new dog ate my homework excuse for studios is that original fare is a challenge to open. But you need original fare to create franchises. What's the solution for Pixar? Better development meetings. You can't tell me that the old glory opening box office days of Pixar can't be recaptured. It goes on to list some of those. Says, sure, it's easier said than done to pull off a Pixar hit. A delicate balance between simplicity, adult heartfelt sophistication, hysterical humor, relatable characters, awestruck animation, and let's not forget cinema homages. Elio isn't a bad movie, but the conceit of a boy obsessed with space and then meeting a bunch of slobbering aliens isn't spinning turnstiles. Yes, but I'll explain why in just a minute because it's not here. It says pre-release social media universe stats on Elio, according to Relish Mix, were pacing 30% below first installment family animation genre norms across TikTok, Facebook, X, YouTube, and Instagram. Well, yeah, but Relish Mix and Parrot Analytics, which judge quote-unquote internet buzz, probably thought Snow White was going to be a big hit based on how much it was tracking higher than usual, but that was because people were laughing at it. So it's really not a helpful gauge. So we can just ignore what Relish says because, again, I don't think it's a helpful gauge at all. It says, also not doing any favors here is the title, Elio. Is Elio the cousin of Pixar's Luca, who was jettisoned to Disney Plus during COVID? Nobody, and I mean nobody, thought that Elio was related to Luca in any way. And it goes on to give us more suggestions here that, well, maybe the business spread is not normal, in East, South Central, Midwest, West, yada, yada, yada. It gives all the reasons. Okay. Can I tell you why Elio is not winning? And it's in this picture. Look at the photo. That's the aunt who was the mom. That character has the same facial structure as the Grinch from DreamWorks. I'm going to put this very simply, okay? Everybody listen in. This is not hard to figure out. Inside Out 2 did fantastic because Inside Out 2 was a movie that looked like a Pixar movie. Elio doesn't look like a Pixar movie. None of these movies lately look like Pixar movies, and people are sick of it because Pixar was the gold standard. Whatever this Cal Arts crap is, nobody wants it. It's not attractive. It looks fine for Dr. Seuss because it fits in with Dr. Seuss. But for Pixar, this is not what people expect. They don't want the turning red, rounded giant teeth in the head. They don't want to watch claymation. They want Pixar. They want WALL-E. They want Up. They want Incredibles. They want Toy Story. I can keep going. They want the bounds of animation to be pushed, but not just animation, artistry. And they want the characters to look Pixar. Chasing after lesser thans is destroying the studio. And also, I would say that Elio is just okay. Gave it a 7 out of 10 here. It wasn't painful to watch. but it's not great. And unless it is an IP that people are familiar with now, they want great because they need to see that you can make great new things again. And frankly, I got to say, I don't think there are many times left of making sequels that also aren't great. Maybe you'll continue to break some records that way, but people are beginning to catch on. People are beginning to say, that Moana 2 is just not as good as Moana. But that Inside Out 2 is kind of overrated compared to the first one. I'm not telling you that Toy Story 5 is going to be, it's going to sink or anything like that. No. I'm saying, though, you've got a few more years before people catch on to this and they start saying, I don't know, it's a Pixar movie. They just make sequels now, and they're not really as good as the originals anyway. They need to get somebody in there who can truly lead the way and get them back to being the standard bearers. Because right now, what they're bearing is the worst flop, well, in Pixar's history, and it's in contention with movies like The Marvels and Indiana Jones: The Dial of Destiny for Disney. Wow. All right, folks, that is the video for this morning. We've got much more on the way. 3 more videos today. We can't wait to bring it to you. If you'd like to check that out, click the like button, share, and subscribe. Click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell, and drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. Did you see Elio, and what did you think of it? We'd love to hear what you have to say. All right, folks, it's been a wonderful day. We're waiting for more of that day to come true for you. Let's get to it. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Yeah, I am so excited for Independence Day. You can taste the liberty and drink in all that 4th of July freedom.
Why? You're not an American, and you don't live in America. Not to mention, you're a troll, and they're from Norway.
Wait, you're saying that trolls can't have the spirit of America? How do you explain Leslie Headland? That'd also be like saying the Acolyte isn't Star Wars.
Well, I guess it's not bad to not be American and wish for that kind of freedom. But please, don't compare this situation to the Acolyte and it being Star Wars. Nothing's that bad.
Well, gosh darn it. You've given me something new to aim for.